my friend who'd been running a catering business, dropped out of uni, started this catering business, done really well. And she just broke down to me because she was having to shut it down. Her energy bills have gone up by 500% in 3 months. The same week, I went out for dinner with one of my friends who's a trader. He'd just been paid over £800,000 for his bonus. Like, we have to do something about this.
The energy industry is one that is so ripe for disruption. It's been dominated by big energy conglomerates for far too long. Q10, a UK startup that uses AI and machine learning to help businesses match with renewable energy suppliers in real time, so they can access cleaner and more cost-effective energy options. The team is on a mission to create a world where SMEs can access their renewable energy they need forever. It's something I really liked the sound of, so I jumped at the opportunity to invest in the company last year, and I'm here with the team today to share more about their plans to disrupt the energy industry for good. Thank you both for joining me, Joe and Terese. Joe, what is TEM? Can you give me a 20-second lightning elevator pitch?
Yeah, 20 seconds, I'll do my best. So
I promise I'm not timing you.
TEM, for the first time, is providing businesses with an alternative option than transacting their electricity through fossil fuel-driven wholesale markets. So businesses using our platform bypass big energy and therefore bypass all of the high transaction fees involved and pay for the electricity they need directly to the generators themselves. A business now pays less for 100% payment traceability of their electricity, whilst putting meaningfully more back into the pockets of the renewable generators. And we call it Renewable Energy Direct, or RED for short.
Terese, you are a brilliant partner with TEM Energy. You are one of the VCs that have invested in TEM through Atomico, who led the recent round that they did, and they raised a whopping, was it 10.5 million? What drew you to the business in the first place?
Absolutely. So our sole focus as a fund at Atomico is to find incredible founders and invest in them. And so then when we spoke to Joe and the team, what we could see is that they were solving a very, very acute pain point in the market, which is that almost 99% of businesses in the UK, they still transact and buy their energy through the wholesale market. That's the same thing they did in the 80s, so it's very archaic. We then thought about, okay, well, what's the solution to this? And that's what TEM is providing, which is basically using technology to radically innovate and provide a way better price and a better experience to these businesses. And for us, what's especially interesting is that TEM does this using machine learning, so is able to forecast the energy needs of businesses and is also able to actually match supply from generators with the demand for businesses using a matching algorithm. And we had never seen any company do something like that before. It's incredibly complex and it requires knowing the energy space really well.
Lots of businesses get founded after crises. Was there anything about the energy crisis in 2021, 2022 that made you think about starting this business?
The energy crisis, for me, it was kind of the final piece of the puzzle that unfortunately almost needed to happen. What we saw in the energy crisis is huge breaking of distrust with businesses and their energy providers. And for the first time, they started looking for alternatives. The problem was there was no alternative to the wholesale market for 99% of those businesses. I always bring this back to a very specific story that happened in a week in 2022. I was sitting down with my friend. She had been running a catering business for 7 years, dropped out of uni, started this catering business, done really well. And she just broke down to me in the evening because she was having to shut it down. Her energy bills have gone up by 500% in 3 months. On the Thursday of the same week, I went out for dinner with one of my friends who's a trader at an energy trading company. He'd just been paid over £800,000 for his bonus that year. And it was that absolute real impact that I felt in front of me that was like, we have to do something about this. We have to think about the redistribution of power. So in a way, it's quite cool that out of something so ugly is an opportunity for something that could be quite beautiful when it comes to a new solution for the way we buy and sell our electricity.
It's a massive market that needs disrupting. I mean, as you were just saying, do you have any thoughts on like how these new startups can disrupt stagnant markets?
Yeah, it's a great question. Energy is it's a market that's been around for a long, long time with very big players. And I think if you become incredibly antagonistic against those players, it can backfire. So I know the team at TEM, they are in discussions with those different parts of the value chain. They work very closely with energy brokers, for example, and so are able to kind of navigate that radical innovation in a way that actually brings people with them and stakeholders with them, rather than, again, creating a feeling of antagonism, which I think is really important.
When we think about changing a market like that, we think about the product has to be 10x. There has to be like a benefit on cost, for example. There's got to be a better experience. And I think a lot of people think about those two. The one that we absolutely fixated on was no behavioral change. It's stagnant for a reason. There's a status quo, which actually means there's entrenched behavior. We really heavily indexed on little behavioral change for a better experience. What that means is you end up having to build a really, really complicated platform, which took a lot of time to actually think through and work. But if we build a better product, you will solve both planet problems and also the customers' problems that they're facing every day.
How are you guys positioned to sort of support the UK in that transition from more traditional energy through to sustainable energy?
Okay, I'll try and do quick fire. It is incredibly complicated. We currently move gas and oil around the world on ships, through pipes, maybe dig it up thousands of miles away to bring it here. A low carbon electron, homegrown, maybe generated from a wind turbine down the road, is from a wholesale market perspective treated exactly the same as a fossil fuel one. So it's also tied to the price of a fossil fuel. So the kind of problem we face where we are today is unless you can decouple that renewable electron from the fossil fuel one, you're always going to have very high pricing. But hopefully with a transaction platform like TEM, which provides this direct transaction and traceability, you're starting to streamline that process for renewable electrons, allowing there to be much more incentive to pay actually less for those locally grown, low carbon electrons themselves.
AI is such a big topic. It's the hot topic of the moment, and you're really using it in a meaningful way. What's your advice to other businesses that are wanting to harness AI?
What we're seeing now with LLMs or large language models and the fundamental improvements like the data engineering and machine learning infrastructures, every problem that you might have thought was not possible to be solved, skipped on and moved away from it, go back to that as a business, because maybe it's now possible to solve it. Especially when you think about what we're doing with AI is effectively replacing every single trader's brain in the whole wholesale market through models. That would have been impossible even 3-4 years ago. So we always think about it as 10, 11xing what you can do today. And all of those human constraints you used to have go away. Not because you have less humans, but your humans are more powered by the kind of AI tools you can use. So for us, it's always the same. It's like, it is a case of if you adapt and embrace or embrace and extend, you're going to do amazing. And it's one of the best times, I think, in probably the last 20 years to start a business or pivot a business into solving a new problem.
I have an amazing stat here that TEM has saved businesses more than 4 million in energy transactions. That's incredible. What's going to be next for you guys? Where are you hoping that number to get to?
We've probably only touched 0.1% of all businesses. So that number could get very big and very beneficial for the UK and for UK business. We're now starting to turn on our content and our educational engines and start reaching out. Ultimately, longer term, we have a plan to be across the world helping all businesses that actually are, unsurprisingly, suffering almost exactly the same as the UK is in the way that they're run around legacy wholesale markets and outdated systems. It can mean we can layer in all sorts of amazing services and insights to these businesses in the other areas of their energy management that they're simply massively disadvantaged, and give every single business on earth the same sort of buying power and insights that, say, a Google or an Amazon gets. So only a few small grand plans for us, but it's a lot of hard work and a lot of focus in the UK over the next 12 to 24 months.
Well, good luck with it. We're behind you all the way. Thank you very much for chatting to me. It's been so nice to hear all about TEM and to get to know you guys more.
Thank you.
Thank you.